Hello my friends and welcome to another From Good to Great guide, and this time I'm actually going to cover some mechanics that are that will probably really surprise you about Panzer Corps 2. Now this is my test map where I'm going to show off some of these mechanics to you guys, and I think it's a test map that I've taken the first map of the Spanish Civil War and utilized it as a test map. And I'm going to be talking about accuracy being a multiplier, the rule of 10, and the air defense flower. So strap yourselves in. This is going to be the first in-depth mechanics guide that I'm going to do. But the reason why I decided to do this guide is because a few people asked me, why do I really favor overstrength? Like, why, you know, I always seem to have this tiny core of units with loads of overstrength, and I don't run large armies, generally speaking, and people have some success with large armies, mostly abusing the encirclement system. But, you know, when I play campaigns where I can't encircle because of some restrictions or whatever, I favor heavily overstrength units and certain cheap units, and I'm hoping that this guide will really open some eyes today as to why that is the case. Okay. So I just hope we can do as many undos as I want. So, the first thing is, look at this group of units. So here we just have some militia. And here we have a 2cm flat cannon in anti-tank mode, a mouse, a flame tank which is designed to kill infantry, a whirlwind which is a late game anti-aircraft gun with high velocity machine guns, the old boat pirates, the Bruken Pioneers in standard configuration which is 17 strength, since they get some free overstrength, and some conscripts. You probably won't be very familiar with conscripts because they're not something that you get access to typically, since you very rarely play as the Soviets. Okay, so, and one thing, before we get into the in-depth details here, I'm just going to kill the music, or at least turn it right down. Okay, so if you were a betting man, which of these units would you think is the one that would do the most damage to this militia group? So let's begin our deployment. Which of these units do you think would be the most dangerous to this group of militia? So this is the militia. This is early game militia, the lowest of the low, the worst stats of any unit in the game. Which unit you think would do the most damage? Now, spoiler alert, all of these units do roughly the same damage. So here you'll see 4 for 2, the mouse is 5, the flame tank is 5, the high velocity anti-aircraft gun is 5. The boat engineer is obviously the lowest with 3. And the conscripts are also 5 with some casualties. So, what's going on? Well, here's the thing. None of these units have any experience points. And what that means is that a unit with no experience is capped to 50% accuracy. And accuracy is a multiplier in this game. So what that means is, no matter what your unit, its stats are, its stats could be off the chart incredible, like the mouse. It doesn't matter what your stats are, because you can only get as many kills as your accuracy will allow. Your accuracy will round you down. So this mouse is a 10 stack, And because it has no experience, it has 50% accuracy. So the most damage it could possibly do is 10. 10 attacks, 10 kills, which it would almost certainly get. But because of the 50% accuracy penalty, it can only do 5 damage. That's it. That's the most it can do. Likewise, these... moving on, these anti-aircraft guns have got rapid fire 2x. Now with rapid fire 2x, you would have the expectation that they would get twice as many kills, even though they have no experience. But what's going on here is that these units have got a soft attack of 6, and these militia have got a ground defense of 3. Now, we'll be going into detail on the rule of 10, but the rule of 10 basically states that if your attack is 10 higher than the enemy's defense, you will get basically mostly kills. If your attack is 10 lower than the enemy defense, you'll get mostly... You just won't get any kills, basically. You'll almost certainly not get any kills. If your attack is within the window of 10, so plus or minus 5 from the enemy's defense, then you're going to get mostly suppression with the odd kill. And this is the issue here, is this unit is actually attacking twice as much. So in theory, it could get 10 kills. But because its attack, which is 6, is within the rule of 10 for this unit's defense, i.e. it's plus or minus 5 from their defense, so it's only just slightly above the ground defense, it means that this unit would mostly do suppression. But because it's firing twice as often, those suppressive attacks are being upgraded to kills by repeated hits, because it's attacking 20 times instead of 10 times. And so you get a situation where these units that would potentially be able to... They do have the potential to do more than 5 damage. The mouse can only do 5 damage. It cannot go any higher, because that accuracy multiplier guarantees that it can only do 5 damage. 10 attacks, 0.5 accuracy modifier means maximum damage 5. The end. End of story. Putting RNG to one side. Whereas this could potentially get 10 kills, but its attack values are too close to the enemy's defense, so it's not going to. So what's interesting here is we have a situation similar to this with the Conscript unit. So the Conscript unit also has a soft attack of 5, which is very close to the ground defense of these guys, which is 3. And because of that, it's the exact same situation as with the Whirlwind. The difference being that the conscripts, of course, are getting 20 actual real attacks. The Whirlwind is getting what you would, a simulated 20 attacks because of its double rapid fire. So what this should tell you is that the game actually has a really tight control on maximum damage, which means that unit size is actually incredibly important. If your unit is size 10, the most kills you can get is 10. That means that this infantry, no matter how bad it is, and this militia truly is the worst infantry in the game, arguably, it doesn't matter how bad they are, because the most damage, even if this had full experience, it could do is 10. But without that experience, the most damage that any unit can do is 5. So even the flame tank, which is a specialized infantry destroying machine with 18 soft attack, so rule of 10, 18 soft attack is 10 above 3 ground defense. So that means that every hit is going to be a kill, but the accuracy multiplier is bringing it down to 5. So, ironically, the only ways to bypass this limitation, other than obviously leveling up your units, is to simply have more units or have rapid fire. And now, just to sort of drive the point home, I have a control group over here of methods that you can use to bypass this problem. Which sort of just goes to show that there is such a thing as overkill. Like with the flame tank. The flame tank is fantastic against infantry statistically, but in this situation, it's only going to ever get 5 kills. These lessons are important for multiplayer, where you can't obviously spawn units with loads of experience, or you don't have a core that's progressing with you. So if you want to get rid of some infantry, you know, you got to ask yourself, what is the point in deploying a flame tank when, you know, something heinously inexpensive like these engineers could potentially do a similar job, or a light anti-aircraft gun could also potentially do the same job, and if this levels up, it could potentially do a better job. You know, why spend thousands of prestige on a mouse, for example, if it's going to do the same damage as the conscripts, which you can certainly buy a lot more of. But anyway, so here's the control group. So here we have a mouse with 5 stars of experience, one that's twice the size, one that has rapid fire 1.5x, and here we have a Whirlwind with Butcher, which dramatically increases the, not dramatically, but +5 is pretty significant for a stat. So if you remember this, I said the Whirlwind was the one most likely to get extra kills. It does have the potential because of the 20 attacks and the, you know, its issue is its stats, not its number of attacks. So with this group, you'll see the 5-star mouse does exactly 10 damage. The 20 strength, but still 0-star mouse also does 10 damage. So you can see that the way of getting around the problem, the easiest way to get around the problem of not getting, you know, big hits, is to just increase the amount of units you have. Or the amount of experience, or both. Yeah, this is important for Overrun. If you want to overrun enemies, if you want to steamroll your way through the enemy, it's important to get the kill. And then, of course, we have one rapid fire 1.5x on a unit with 0 experience. So here you'll see 8, because 7.5 is the expected damage, right? You have an extra 0.5 attacks, so you have an extra 5 attacks, so 15 attacks, which would be 7.5 damage, which is rounded up to 8 because it's the nearest whole number. The system rounds up, so this proves that the system rounds up. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's a similar way to bypass the issue. And here we are seeing 8 damage compared to the 5 for the Whirlwind here. And the reason why, and I'll show you guys in the logs, is because we are now over. So these guys have got 3 defense, remember, and we've gone from 6 to 11, which is still not 10. It's not 10 above, but it's higher. So if I demonstrate these 2 attacks. Okay, so we got 6 there, and I was expecting some potential more damage here. So the real result was 7 killed and 1 suppressed, and that's because there was just simply so many hits, so many potential. But you can see here, based on the stats, 25% chance of deflect, 20% chance of suppress, 55% chance of a kill. So if you imagine 20 attacks, 50% of them kill, that's 10 kills, then your accuracy is 0.5 or 50%. So the expected kills is 5, and that's where the math is coming from. Now with this one, okay, 8 damage as expected. So what's happening here is this bit is being changed. So now there's no chance of a deflect, 20% chance of suppression, and 80% chance of a kill, because that stat has risen It's not 10 above, but it's getting close to 10 above. And it's high enough now that the kill percentage has risen to 80%. So now you're looking at 20 attacks, 80% of them will be fatal. So that's 16 kills, and then 16 kills by 50% accuracy means 8 kills. And that's your end result, which was 8 kills, which is exactly what we were expecting. So I hope that what that shows you is that mechanically, you could be in a position where there's very little difference between a lot of the units in the game, simply because their size is what is most important. And amusingly enough, the conscripts here, which I actually consider conscripts to be the best unit in the game, the reason why I consider them to be the best unit in the game is because the stats, there are situations in which the stats potentially don't matter. You know, as long as they're reasonably within the enemy's ground defense, which infantry often attacks close combat defense, which is often 0. So as long as they're reasonably within the enemy's ground defense values, it's simply the fact that it's a 20 stack that makes it powerful. It's the same with the bridge engineers. It's simply the fact that you get a 17 stack, you get such a huge stack, that makes them powerful. If you were to put Butcher, like I did with the Whirlwind here, if you were to put your Butcher hero on your bridge engineers, well, I could argue that you'd be better off putting it on, you know, some proper infantry. But the point is that because there's so many of them, you might potentially get a lot more kills with engineers than you would with the mouse, because the mouse is limited by its size of 10. Okay, so that's the rule of 10 explained, and that's accuracy being 50% explained. Now, one other detail, well, a couple of things, other things I wanted to cover. In terms of aircraft, there is a technique where fighters cannot defend each other. So a fighter plane is actually the weak link in your air force, usually. And so here, I've put a load of spy planes around the fighter. This is just a very simple technique, which many people are sort of not aware of. And that technique is that if your fighter is completely surrounded by aircraft, and I have left a gap here for demonstration, that is way more powerful a formation than leaving the fighter out by itself. And spy planes are very cheap. So it's relatively easy to deploy extra spy planes to actually create this formation, if your airports allow it. So here I have a Hurricane, and you can see it's a Hurricane Mark 1, it's not like a late war Hurricane. You can see that if I attack these spy planes, I will feel the wrath of the fighter, and I won't even damage the fighter. So if I take one of these, for example, you can see the fighter is defending the spy planes. And this enables the fighter to protect loads of planes without being worn down. Aircraft actually follow the same rules as ground units in terms of movement during the turn. So you can make a wall of planes and the enemy will not actually be able to move through it. They'll have to go around it. So this technique allows you to, in effect, create a situation where you get 20 attacks. Because imagine this is a strat bomber or a tactical bomber. Those units fight back, and often they fight back reasonably okay. So what that means is, if you position your fighter in the center of your airport and you surround it with your strat bombers, your tacticals, and you fill in any gaps with spy planes, you create a situation where your planes cannot be attacked without the attacker having to deal with the fight being attacked for free by the fighter first. So you see here, my fighter plane did 1 damage to the recon plane because the fighter shoots first and initiative is ignored. So the fighter is better at killing planes when it's defending an ally than it is actually if you fought it straight up. If you fight it straight up, let's use another one of these just for demonstration purposes. If you fight it straight up, you'll see here that the result for me was better. I did 2 damage, and I only lost 5 planes instead of losing 6. Because the whole initiative system comes into play when you attack the fighter directly. But it doesn't come into play when it's actually supporting another plane. So whenever you deploy your aircraft, or say, you know, you're going to attack a group of units, be sure to put your fighter in the middle of your group. And even if you don't have enough planes, you can create a formation that is actually very difficult for the enemy to get to your fighter, because they do have to follow the rules. So you may potentially be able to create a situation where the fighter, you know, where you're just in range and they have to take an extra 3 or 4 or 5 tiles to get around behind, and they don't actually have enough movement to get behind you. So something to keep in mind. Okay, lastly, I wanted to talk about artillery, but it's very similar to the issues with that I've demonstrated here with the rule of 10 and double rapid fire. You can have artillery like this one with rapid fire 2x and great stats against a very soft target, and still not get more than 1 damage. Whereas you can have you know, a unit like the 15 centimeter with just basic stats and still only get 1 damage. Or you can have a unit with incredible stats like the 21 centimeter and still just get 1 damage. You know, what is going on is 80% of kills are 80% of kills are converted to suppression with artillery. And so, you know, where you would have gotten 5 kills, like in the demonstration here with 10 sized units, where you would have gotten 5 kills, you are getting 1 kill and 4 suppressions, sometimes a little bit more. But the rule of accuracy still applies here, so the most damage that you can possibly do is 5. And therefore, the most kills you can possibly get is 1, irrespective of your artillery. And this is why I'm really not that excited by rocket artillery, because by the time you get them experienced enough for double rapid fire to allow them to get, you know, extra kills or whatever, you start facing off against units whose defense values are good enough to reduce the damage output of these units. And so you get the same situation like over here, where, you know, these units with double attacks are basically doing the same damage as everything else. So in other words, the game's balance is very tight. It's very restricted around at the most allowing you to get only a particular number of kills, irrespective of what your stats are. The stats, you know, look past the rule of 10 thing. Once you get past the rule of 10, once you've got 11 attack more than the other guy's defense, it doesn't matter if you've got 11 attack, 15 more, 20 more, 30 more, 100 more. You could have 1,000 more attack than the enemy. You are still not going to get any more kills than the size of your unit multiplied by its accuracy. And if the size of the unit is obviously multiplied by rapid fire, so you get more attacks, then you get more attacks, but accuracy always comes last, so whatever that result is, it's going to be halved. Okay, and that's it. Just a talk about the mechanics, really, but I think that this is something that very few people have really sat down and thought about, and so I just wanted to demonstrate it. If you're looking at that shiny new unit with +1 attack or +2 attack, just remember, it might not actually matter at all. and you might be better off with a smaller unit that costs less slots that you can just make bigger. Because what does matter is experience and unit size more than anything else, because experience improves accuracy, which reduces the damage that the accuracy system does to your attack value or to your number of kills, and obviously unit size means more attacks, means more damage. So ironically, out of all of these units, the conscripts could potentially be the best unit here, because if you put no retaliation on it, for example, so that it could just attack freely without taking a response, once they get some experience, or if you put any attack bonuses on them, they, through the sheer fact that they're just a big unit, will be able to do way more damage. You know, the maximum potential of a mouse is you put rapid fire 2x on it and it has max experience. The most damage it could do is 20. If you were to put Butcher on a conscript group and rapid fire 2x, same as the mouse, and you took it to 5-star, the potential damage that the conscript ball could do is 40. Twice what the mouse could do. Presuming that, you know, the target that they're hitting's defense is poor. And that is an eye-watering, you know, an eye-opener, I think. And just remember, with infantry, as long as you're in the close combat tile, your enemy's defense is going to be 0 or close to 0 throughout much of the war. So this is not even a hypothetical situation. This is actually real, practical, applicable reality. Anyway, that is it for now. I hope you found this insight into the mechanics of Panzer Corps 2 interesting, and I will see you guys next time.